In the next lesson about the calculated items, we will try to calculate the year-over-year percentage change by creating a calculated item. This is going to be another way because we saw already a calculated field in this kind of scenario. But because we already know that you cannot work on the auto group dates when working with calculated items, let's first extract the year coming from the order date so that we can use it right now in a new pivot table that we will insert into a new worksheet and refresh the pivot table cache. This scenario is as follows: region on rows, the year on columns, and right now the sales on the values shelf. And imagine that the customer wants always to see just 2 last years, and instead of the grand total in the D column, the customer wants to see the year-on-year percentage change between the years you highlight in the pivot table. The solution for that is of course going to be the calculated item. Before we start, let's remove the grand total from the columns. And let's select the year on the columns shelf to be able to create the calculated item. Right now, I would like to calculate the year-on-year percentage change between the year 14 versus 13. And to do so, I can just pick the year 2014 divided by the year 2013 minus 1. And after hitting add or OK, you will see our new calculation. The challenge in here is that if you change the years to select some other years like 2012 and 2013, this year-on-year calculation is always going to refer to the years 14 and 13. So it's not going to be as flexible as you would imagine for the next years of your reporting. There is another way to create a calculated item where you can take the year column and pick the first element that you can see on the list, or in our case, the second element that you can see on the list, which is the year 2014, but this is the current year usually, and divide it by the first element that appears right now on the list, which is the year 2013, minus 1. This is going to be year-on-year calculation, which is, of course, more flexible right now. The result is going to be exactly the same, but the difference is when you pick different years like the year 2012 and 2013, the second calculation is going to react on that compared to the first scenario. You can edit your calculations under calculated item, but you can also pick the first cell you can see, and the equation will be also visible in the formula bar, where you can also edit this equation in there. Calculated items created like this rely a lot on the order of elements on the list. So if I will place year-on-year somewhere at the beginning, I will get an error because it's not possible to find the first element inside this year-on-year calculation. In a very similar way, we can compare the current year result to the average coming of the 3 last year we have in the database. Let's try to solve this scenario by removing from the filter the old calculations and creating another calculated item with the year number 4 as regards the order in the table, which is always the last year, in our case 2014, divided by the sum of all of the years we have, so the year number 1 plus year number 2 plus year number 3. This all is based on the assumption that we will always have just 4 years in there. This is the sum. We want to divide the whole sum by 3 and minus 1 at the end to get the percentage change. We can call it last year versus 3-year average, and after hitting OK, we will calculate the end result. There are a few disadvantages of using calculated items like this. For example, if I insert right now a slicer on the year column, you will see that those elements appear also on the list of elements available for the year. This is one disadvantage. The other, you always need to be careful with the order of the elements on the list. And the third element, you might need to apply a specific solve order for more complex scenarios to make sure, for example, first the non-critical are calculated because they are on top of the list to make it possible to calculate the share of critical. So sometimes you need to play around with the solve order in here. What is more, you have also the list formulas, and after inserting this, you will always see all of the calculated items you created as a list in a new worksheet.